So Black Friday has come and gone in a flash. It is actually the Tuesday after, so even Cyber Monday as well has gone and done its thing. Obviously, we all know that it is just a massive marketing ploy to get you and I to spend all of our sweet money, sweet dollars on all sorts of stuff that we obviously don't need. But you know, it comes around every year because it works, right? And people do spend the money. And you know, sometimes you do get some decent offers and deals. And you know, for me, I just wanted to quickly go through at least my experience as a seller, and probably briefly touch upon some of the stuff that I bought as well, just because yeah, at this point in time, it's such a big time of the year now for consumer spending that a lot of these stores that you probably regularly shop with do make some additional effort to get those, as I said, get that sweet money, Black Friday money, and obviously compete for you know, amongst all the different stores to get that sweet dollar. Before I get into the remainder of the video, if you do enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe if you're not already. To start with, I actually had run a sale the week before, rather than actually doing it just for that single week. So I ran the sale before, and then I ran I ran a sale the week before, and then I also ran a sale going from, I believe it was from the Thursday of last week all the way up until today, and I think that sale is ending tonight. And the sale was basically 15% off everything, and you're probably thinking, no, that's not that much, and you're right, it isn't that much, but I also believe that generally I have the lowest prices on there anyway. So the fact that I'm putting on 15% means you're genuinely getting a 15% cut in prices compared to what you'd expect with the market generally. Obviously, you'd think a lot of people are doing that and cutting their prices, but I just put a pretty much flat 15% off everything. There's only one caveat to that, which was to spend over £10. So any orders under £10 were just their normal price. And funnily enough, I made just as many of those as I did orders over £10 that were discounted. So you know, that speaks for itself, I guess. But yeah, I had that 15% off, and as I said, prices are competitive anyway. So certainly eating into the profits, I guess, I would get otherwise. Another thing to add is I didn't actually manipulate any of my prices beforehand. I didn't increase everything by 10% and then take 15% off. I kept everything as it was. I didn't even look too much into it. As I said, I set that threshold at £10, and I had a few items that were like just over that threshold of £10. Anyone who sells on eBay knows that if you sell anything under £10, the transaction fee, so when you eBay obviously have their managed payment service now, as opposed to the PayPal they used to have. But when you when a payment is made using that, any sale under £10, you are charged an additional 10p for that transaction, whereas over £10, you are charged a 30p transaction fee. So it's a long-winded way of saying basically anything slightly over £10 as a price point is really not worth it, unless you're going maybe 1050, 1070 and above. It's really not worthwhile. I also, this is a very minor point, but I use more expensive packaging as well for anything over £10 too. Not significant, that's what I kind of alluded to it not being that important. But generally, that means I end up pricing a lot of things at like £9.95, for example, as opposed to £10.20, because you actually can end up worse off doing that. So I had a few items that were just over that £10 threshold. Just because a lot of this stuff is automated, so you know, it's not, I can't have my eyes on absolutely everything, and that meant that they were getting it for like, let's say, you know, 15% of £10 being £8.50, so they would be getting the item for £8.50, and all I had to do really, if I was a bit more on the ball, if I was a bit more meticulous and more efficient, is I would have just anything like between £10 and £11, I maybe would have priced at £9.95 instead, meaning that they would have to purchase something else in order to get 15% off, which was the point of doing this, just to see if adding that threshold meant more, you know, people would go out of their way, because they were saving more money than they were receiving. So effectively, I was shooting myself in the foot a little bit, just given that I hadn't reduced those prices below the threshold. But For me, it was more just about getting an idea of whether or not it'd be worth it for me to maybe further down the line run more sales, and generally I'd say it wasn't too great, and I probably wouldn't. I think just sticking with making sure my prices are competitive at mark, I basically the other kind of, or any larger sellers, basically matching their price point and not trying to necessarily undercut those. But because what you find often happens is they'll all maybe have a similar price, and then some random person who maybe just happened to have packed that particular card has decided to sell it like 10% cheaper, just because they packed something cool and they just want to get rid of it and get some money out of it. And if all the stores were doing that, obviously you're just going to end up undercutting each other too much. So I'm not trying to cause any or too much volatility there. So as I said, just normally pricing things at around about what those bigger stores are selling them for. Also generally not in that much of a rush to immediately get things out the door. Obviously cash flow is important, and it means the more I sell, the more I can buy, and that's hopefully means more money coming in. But yeah, just generally obviously not trying to undercut and cause prices to change that quickly. So what I do obviously now then is just make sure the prices are competitive, and then also I'm doing like generally 2% promoted listing across the board. I want to say a lot of the disappointment, or the kind of, I guess, the quiet weekend, the exceptional weekend. It could, it doesn't necessarily mean it's worthless and wasn't necessarily worth trying. I would say the last week or two have been pretty quiet, which is interesting because the couple of weeks before were pretty good and pretty active. But the last couple of weeks have been pretty quiet, and I thought obviously then adding that sale and getting involved in the whole Black Friday thing would maybe get me back to that point a few weeks ago. And the thing you need to understand with eBay and just retail selling like this, there are ups and downs. It's not really consistent. You don't get a flat line every month. Realistically, especially if you don't necessarily have the highest volume as well. You might have one expensive card sell one month, and then the next 3 months nothing of that price point sells, and it just looks like, oh, everything's trending downhill. Well, it's not. You just had an outlier sell for a price that was just well above anything else. But as I said, I wanted to just get an idea of whether or not doing a sale like this again would be worth it. I wanted to, plenty of people offer discounts based on multiple purchases, on meeting threshold purchases, that kind of thing, and that's always something I've wanted to explore further. And the reason why I don't really bother doing that is because I know, as I said, I try to just keep my prices as competitive as possible, so there's no reason why I should offer those additional discounts. Another thing to add is obviously when people then do purchase multiple items, that saves postage, and then obviously, so it's not obvious at all, but everything I have includes free postage. So that means that if someone purchases 2 cards, and if they're under their kind of insurance limit, meaning that the postage cost is the same, or the weight limit, meaning the postage cost is still the same, then that extra additional postage goes into my pocket. I obviously could offer discounts, like I said, on multiple purchases or minimum price, but minimum order values. But I think the benefit of getting that extra money in my pocket, I'm obviously then removing to convince more people to purchase more. And it's probably something that I should weigh out and spend more time looking at, because I really think it would be worthwhile to do. I think it's probably something which is way more effective for single cards, which at this point I do sell a significant amount of, which means I probably should be looking at it a bit more. I think if you mainly focus on selling graded cards, unless people are coming and buying like Hidden Fate, Shiny Vault, for example, and trying to pick up loads of PSA 10s from there, it's unlikely you're going to get people purchasing multiple items at once. People usually purchase graded cards that are a bit more unique, or it's just more expensive, so maybe they only buy 1 card at a time, whereas the amount of orders that you get, and a lot of bigger sellers, I'm sure, can share their feelings about this too, or experience. you will just get someone coming in and purchasing all the secret rares from a set and spending the same value that they would on a single graded card, but obviously it's going towards them completing a part of a specific set. So that obviously happens a lot more. So then there's the case of actually introducing those offers to, I guess, get more people to purchase more cards and to spend more money. At the end of the day, that's the goal for me, to obviously get more money in, meaning, as I said before, I could just buy more stuff, grow and build a business. But yeah, generally Black Friday was, as I said, a bit quiet. It was probably, as I said, I ran a sale again, or I also ran a sale the week before, and that was probably slightly worse than the Black Friday sale. I don't know whether a lot of it is just people. I mean, firstly, the amount of ads you're getting inundated with in the last few weeks is obviously unbelievable. Just constantly getting ads thrown in your face. And I think one thing generally with Black Friday is it's associated with tech and purchasing tech. And I'm guilty of it. I picked up something this year that I thought a few months ago about buying. It wasn't anything special, just an air fryer. But I bought an air fryer because obviously I don't have one already. And also I've been thinking about it for a while, and I was like, okay, November's coming up, I'll wait. It was like half price, half of retail, so I bought it. It wasn't particularly expensive, but and I think, yeah, as I said, a lot of Black Friday seems to be associated with tech. It's the TVs, and obviously nowadays the air fryers, and it's the PlayStations, and it's all of these mobile phones and all this kind of stuff. I don't think necessarily people are like, oh, it's Black Friday, I'm going to go and buy some Pokemon cards. So I think that was that's probably one significant factor. It will be interesting, obviously, moving forward if things kind of get back to normal for next week, or compare that at least to this week and the previous week. As I said a few weeks ago, things were pretty hot, and we've got between now and Christmas basically, where a lot of the spending, if you in a usual year, a lot of the spending does happen for me. At that time, if I look back at previous year sales, December, November are pretty hot months. It'd be interesting to look at the specific weeks, right, for Black Friday from previous years. But as far as I recall, that there is somewhat of a dip, and then things pick up a little bit in December. Then Christmas comes, and post Christmas, it's pretty much dead because people are waiting for the next paycheck because they've obviously just spent a lot of money and they're not willing to spend more money on Pokemon cards. So I'll certainly be keeping an eye on that, and maybe have an update video a couple of weeks into December, just talking about how the kind of longer time frame of this time of year has worked out for me and for the selling. I would like to add, though, it seems to be I've obviously just mentioned the fact that Black Friday isn't necessarily associated with stuff like Pokemon cards, with just stuff that's not tech or techie focused, not hobby stuff, that's for sure. I mean, you have a lot of like toy stores, for example, I guess. They really obviously push Black Friday offers and deals a lot, and obviously Pokemon can certainly fall under that. So I'm not underestimating the desire of people to pick up cards at this time, knowing it's Black Friday. But one thing I have noticed is the last couple of years is that there have been some really, really good deals and sales on at Black Friday from a lot of like bigger stores. Stores like DA Card World, for example, they will have pretty decent sales on at this time of year. There are a few other stores as well, I think, really are really worth checking out at this time of year. And it's funny because I wouldn't really shop with them otherwise, but when it comes to this time of the year and they're like heavily discounting things, probably from their perspective it's a good time to clear out a lot of old stock, and obviously then it's a good time for me to pick up a lot of that stuff myself. So yeah, it seems like, as I said, the last couple of years there has been more of an emphasis on Pokemon and trading card stores and tabletop game stores and all that kind of thing. to kind of follow Black Friday and do all of these sales. Maybe I just wasn't looking at them 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago. I certainly wasn't looking at them 5 years ago because I wasn't into Pokemon then, but it seems like more and more these sales are readily available, and also they're actually pretty good, which is not something I usually say with all of this corporate marketing, all these corporate marketing campaigns that go on every year around this time of the year, Christmas, Easter, all of these kinds of things. Obviously, we all know they usually increase the price and then add a discount afterwards, so you're not usually getting as good a deal as you think. But yeah, seems to be well, at least this year, the last couple of years, that seems to not be the case. As I said myself as well, I don't mean to keep bringing that up, but I didn't go out and increase the prices and decrease them. It was like, it's a sale and let me see what I can get rid of over the last couple of, over the next couple of weeks is what I was thinking a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, as I said, it didn't really work out as well as I would have liked it to. Sales weren't particularly great. They weren't better than the beginning of the month, for example, which was obviously massively disappointing. Yeah, I thought it was just interesting either way to look at it. Am I going to be running those kind of flat discounts? Nowhere near 15%, that's for sure. Everything on my own website is usually cheaper than the prices on eBay anyway, so if people are asking for discounts, I kind of usually direct them that way rather than just saying, oh well, I'm gonna give them a 10% off on eBay, given that obviously eBay take a decent amount with their fees. So am I going to do it again? Probably not. Maybe give it another try, maybe try the multiple purchase discounts, order value discounts, all that kind of thing, and see if that makes more of a difference. Maybe try those kinds of things longer term and see how that works. But yeah, that's kind of my summary of eBay store and all the Pokemon selling over Black Friday. And yeah, that's pretty much everything from me today. And as I said, if you like the video, please make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one.